Girls are coming out of the woods. Girls are coming out of the woods, wrapped in cloaks and hoods, carrying iron bars and candles and a multitude of scars collected on acres of premature grass and city buses, in temples and bars. Girls are coming out of the woods with panties tied around their lips, making such a noise it's impossible to hear. Is the world speaking too? Is it really asking, what does it mean to give someone a proper resting? Girls are coming out of the woods, lifting their broken legs high, leaking secrets from unfastened thighs. All the lies whispered by strangers and swimming coaches and uncles, especially uncles who said spreading would be light and easy, who put bullets in their chests and fed their pretty faces to fire, who sucked the mud clean off their ribs and decorated their coffins with briar. Girls are coming out of the woods, clearing a ground to scatter their stories. Even those girls found naked in ditches and wells, those forgotten in neglected attics and buried in riverbeds like sediments from a different century. They've crawled their way out from behind the curtains of childhood, the silver-pink weight of their bodies pushing against water, against the sad, feathered tarnish of remembrance. Girls are coming out of the woods the way birds arrive at morning windows, pecking and humming until all you can hear is the smash of their minuscule hearts against glass, the bright desperation of sound, bashing, disappearing. Girls are coming out of the woods. They're coming. They're coming. I wrote Girls Are Coming Out of the Woods about 6 months after a woman called Jyoti Singh was raped on a bus in Delhi in December 2012. And it was a moment, I suppose, in our national consciousness of changing the dialogue around rape against assault, and in trying to change legislation. The poem sort of accumulated, I suppose, with many, many news stories, experiences that I was reading about and stories. And I think I wanted to reclaim somehow the voices of those women that had been silenced. And I wanted to write it as a chant, as a kind of an anthem, because I had in my mind this sort of militant image of women who were coming out from the forests and the woods, armed and mutilated, to claim back not just their lives, but everything that had been taken from them. And so the poem grew out of a kind of anger, but also a kind of wanting to reclaim voice. Everyone loves a dead girl. They arrive at parties alone because they are dead now and there is nothing to fear, except for the sun, except for the rustle of tablecloths which instigates a quickening in them, the reminder of a tip-tap phantom heart. They are beautiful, so when they stand beside lampshades or murals, rooms shrink and the air previously content to swan around in muddy shorts grows disgruntled and heavy. They discuss methods of dying because even though there can be no repetition of that experience, something about the myth of the peaceful bed annoys them. They would like to tell people how naive death wishes are. They feel an exhibition of wounds you never thought imaginable might help contextualize things. A girl, call her my own, call her my lovely, stands up and says, I would like to talk about what it means to suffocate on pillow feathers, to have your neck held like a cup of wine, all delicate and beloved before it is crushed. Another stands and another, and even though they have no names, and some of them have satin strips instead of faces, they all have stories that go on and on, ocean-like, glamorous, until it is morning and they go wherever it is dead girls go. In the parties of the real world, people talk about how some girls walk down the wrong roads and fall down rabbit holes. People who haven't put their faces in the soft stomach of another's for years, who no longer go out at night to chase the moon. Even those people who do nothing but make love in grass all day long, benevolent people. Their hearts leap when they hear a story about a dead girl, and when they tell it to someone, how could they not? The telling is a kind of nourishing. All the dormant bits inside them charge around like Bolshoi dancers, re-entering the world alive and with wonder. Because how could you not hold on to your wrists and listen to that unquestionable bloom? How could you not fall apart with relief? And when they hold their own girls close, maybe they tell them how beauty is a distance they don't need to travel. Maybe they make braids of their daughter's hair, and while doing so, imagine they could be secured. Truly, they believe themselves when they say, the world is a forest, darling. Remember the breadcrumbs. Remember to dig a tunnel home through the rain. There was a different experience writing Everyone Loves a Dead Girl, and it was a personal experience as opposed to experience gleaned from the newspaper. So a friend of mine was murdered in October 2016, and this was very much inspired by the aftermath of her death, where I found the stories that were being written and the stories that were being told in newspapers and at parties and all around were so shocking to me, because they were forever pinning her as this dead girl, the way that she was found, what might have happened, and it was almost as if her whole life before that ceased to exist, and that she would always be this dead girl. And I think when we write about violence and we contemplate this sense of a person's life, I was feeling at least the frustration of a friend, of not just having lost my friend, but having lost her many, many times in a very violent manner. And what are our obligations when we speak about these kinds of things? And so the poem was really born out of a kind of need to, I don't know, balance the scales somehow, and to remember that we are all vulnerable and we are all human, and we don't ever want that violence to come close to us, and that we will do whatever we can to protect ourselves. But despite everything we do, sometimes it will still come. This is a poem called Contract, and it's for the reader, and it features the poet as an immortal mosquito. Dear reader, I agree to turn my skin inside out, to reinvent every lost word, to burnish, to steal, to do what I must in order to singe your lungs. I will forego happiness, stab myself repeatedly, and lower my head into countless ovens. I will fade backwards into the future and tell you what I see. If it is bleak, I will lie so that you may live seized with wonder. If it is miraculous, I will send messages in your dreams, and they will flicker as a silvered cottage in the woods, choked with vines of moonflower. Don't kill me, reader. This neck has been working for years to harden itself against the axe. This body, meager as it is, has lost so many limbs to wars, so many eyes and hearts to romance. But love me, and I will follow you everywhere, to the dusty corners of childhood, to every downfall and resurrection, till your skin becomes my skin. Let us be twins, our blood thumping after each other like thunder and lightning. And when you put your soft head down to rest, dear reader, I promise to always be there, humming in the dungeons of your auditory canals, an immortal mosquito, hastening you towards fury, towards incandescence. So this poem, I haven't how to explain it. It's about teenage love and mortality, I suppose. And it's called Ode to Patrick Swayze. At 14, I wanted to devour you. The twang, the strut, the perfect proletarian butt in the black pants of you. I wanted a man like you to sashay into town and teach me how to be an aeroplane in water. I didn't want to be a baby. I wanted to be your baby. I wanted revenge. I wanted to sue my breasts for not living up to potential. I wanted Jennifer Grey to meet with an unfortunate end and not have a love affair with a ghost. At 14, I believed you'd given birth to the word preternatural, and when mother came home one day waving her walking shoe saying, I lost my soul in the Theosophical Society, I wanted to dance as recklessly as the underside of that shoe. I wanted to be a pebble in the soft heel of you, to horse whisper and live on a ranch in Texas and love my blonde wife forever and have creases around my eyes and experience at least one goddamn summer where I could be like the wind, sexy and untrammeled and dirty. And it was only after I found my own Johnny and got rid of him. Only yesterday, after rescuing a northern shoveler from crows on the beach, his broken wings squished against the crockery of my ribs. Only after setting him down at the edge of a canal where he sank into the long, patient task of dying, did I realize what I'd wanted most was to be held by someone determined to save me, someone against whom I could press my unflourishing chest, who would offer me not just the time of my life, but who tear out reams of his yellowing pancreas and say, "Here, baby, eat." Find the poets. I arrived in a foreign land yesterday, a land that has seen troubles. Who hasn't, you might say? But this land with its scrubbed white houses and blue seas, where everything was born and now it seems everything could vanish. I wanted to find out the truth about how a great land like this could allow ancient columns to crumble and organ grinders to disappear. Find the poets, my friend said. If you want to know the truth, find the poets. But friend, where do I find the poets? In the soccer fields, at the seashore, in the bars, drinking? Where do the poets live these days, and what do they sing about? I looked for them in the streets of Athens, at the train station and by the flea market. I thought one of them might have sold me a pair of sandals, but he did not speak to me of poetry, only of his troubles, of how his house was taken from him, of all the dangers his children must now be brave enough to face. Find the poets, my friend said. They will not speak of the things you and I speak about. They will not speak of economic integration or fiscal consolidation. They could not tell you anything about the burden of adjustment, but they could sit you down and tell you how poems are born in silence and sometimes in moments of great noise, of how they arrive like the rain unexpectedly cracking open the sky. They will talk of love, of course, as if it were the only thing that mattered, of chestnut trees and mountain tops and how much they miss their dead fathers. They will talk like they have been talking for centuries about holding the throat of life till all the sunsets and lies are choked out, till only the bones of truth remain. The poets, my friend, are where they have always been, living in paper houses along rivers and forests that are disappearing. And while you and I go on with life, remembering and forgetting, the poets remain, singing, singing. A Fable for the 21st Century, with an epigraph by E.M. Choran. Existing is plagiarism. There is no end to unknowing. We read papers, wrap fish in yesterday's news, Spread squares on the floor so puppy can pee on Putin's face. Even the mountains cannot say what killed the Sumerians all those years ago. And as such, you should know that blindness is historical, that nothing in this poem will make you thinner, richer, or smarter. Myself, I couldn't say how a light bulb worked, but if we threw you head first into the past, what would you say about the secrets of chlorophyll? How would you expound on the aggression of sea anemones, the battle of Placé, Boko Haram? Language is a peculiar destiny. Once, at the desert's edge, a circle of pilgrims spoke of wonder, their lives dark with mud and hose. They didn't know you could make perfume from rain, that human blood was more fattening than beer. But their fears were ripe and lucent, their clods of children plentiful, and God walked among them, knitting sweaters for injured chevaliers. Will you tell them how everything that's been said is worth saying again, how the body is helicoidal, spiriting on and on, how it is only ever through the will of nose, bronchial, trachea, lung, that breath outpaces any sadness of tongue. Poem for a dead dog. I want to lift you from the sand the way a harmattan plows the hell out of a Nigerian street. To know you the way lovers in the first blush of heat will speak of the animals they want to be in the next life. Elephant, hippo, always grand in design. But life, even though it's ours, is mostly small, small the way I squash ants against the wall. I want to tie a rope around your neck and lead you somewhere, but the way you're lying so close to the waves, your legs in some complicated Pilates position. Understand, I can't have my dogs see you this way. It would ruin their self-confidence. Don't think it's because I don't believe in hard work. I jog most mornings, and when I read, I beat my chin if it sags into submission. This isn't about resisting, but about longing, how it enters the body, shimmying between ribs. The body, always the body of you, of my dogs hovering around you, sniffing, squatting, pissing, tearing away to play cowboys and Indians because a herd of young bulls has just appeared over the dunes, their buff brown bodies glorious as applause on the horizon. Even the stranger's perfect body you must have imagined giving yourself over and over to in the dark, the way all of it creates a knob of desire, the body left out in a week of rain, still parched, still longing for someone to crawl in and close the shutters, the body offering itself to the sea. Impossible to think there will be no more cool mornings or summer nights of wild moonlight loving. Listen, someone is pounding the door. Tell them to bring the roses in.